This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today we're talking with Puneet Jhawar, General Manager of Global Spark Ignited and Fuel Delivery Systems with Cummins. Puneet, great to see you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I'm excited to talk to you about natural gas because I think this is a topic that has grown. So we're 2 months into the year, and for some reason, natural gas has really come in. It's what I've been talking a lot about in the past couple of weeks. I know that you all have been working on the X15N natural gas engine, which you have announced the launch of, available at Peterbilt and Kenworth trucks. You've had fleets working with that engine. I want to dive right into it. Let's talk about the power and performance of natural gas. What are people saying, and what do you expect fleets to see as they might try out the X15N with the new natural gas platform, and how that compares to the X15 diesel experience they've had for years?
Yeah, thanks for the resounding thumbs up on that one, Jason. I think we are super excited about the X15N. One, because of the fact that I think our engineers have been working tirelessly along with some of the broader teams to make sure that the supply chain's ready, taking care of the customers, the aftermarket, the support side of it. So all of that is a culmination of trying to get in all in 24, and we are very, very excited what it brings through. Generally, the feedback that we've had from the market on the test units that have been running in the field have been a resounding thumbs up. We've had a multitude of feedback that's come in from the market, partly saying that one of the best feedbacks has been that it behaves like a truck, it works like a truck, and I love the truck, which is testimony to say that the engineers that put in the hard work and the teams that put in the hard work, it's kind of resulting in the fruition of what we were trying to get and achieve with the Helm platform.
Right.
We've also had people come and say that it runs up the Donner Pass like a normal diesel does. Some people have said that it's quieter than a diesel truck. The drivers love it. They like the power, they like the torque, they like the drivability and the feel and how a truck should be. And frankly, I think it's some of the issues that we've had with the 12. They've said that this seems to accomplish all of the tasks that we want to do. It doesn't feel sluggish. It doesn't feel the fact that it doesn't want to go. In fact, some of the drivers have told us that when you drive it in the traffic, this feels like that it wants to go. It wants to run. It doesn't want to be constrained, which is really, 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 really heartening feedback. People have liked the power, the torque, the credibility of the product. They've started to enjoy what it delivers, the quietness of the truck. And so all in all, I think it's been a good feedback, and it's closer and closer to what we were expecting it to be, including in terms of how we were expecting the difference between a driver feel the X15 diesel and the X15 natural gas. So super excited about it.
Right, yeah, keeping that X15 platform kind of nomenclature kind of sets a precedent, sets an expectation there. Cool to hear that it's meeting that. One thing I do want to go back to real quick, because you mentioned it there, the Helm, and I think this is a new recent announcement. That's the new branding for the fuel agnostic platform, is that correct?
Correct. I mean, we've used the word fuel agnostic platform for a while, but then realized that there were some portions of it and we just wanted to bring it together. And so Helm, which is high efficiency, low emissions, and multiple fuel types, kind of brings it all together for us to say that we've spent enough time, energy, and effort in trying to make it easy for OEMs to integrate, easy to take care of the fact that people are going to use multiple fuels and different fuels are going to become a reality. So how do you make sure that the engines are capable of being able to handle a particular fuel type? So which this doesn't mean that one engine can take all fuel types, right, but it still means that the engine has been specifically designed for that particular fuel type. So for example, a natural gas engine has been designed for natural gas as a fuel. The hydrogen engines will be designed to accommodate hydrogen as a fuel. Similarly, the diesel product, of course, uses diesel as a fuel, but the common base of the architecture remains the same. Below the head gasket is the same. The components that are specific to a fuel type, of course, are separate.
Right, for sure. Let's go back to the aftermarket and service support comment you made earlier too. I know that reliability, serviceability, we've been down this road with natural gas a little bit before, but now with the X15N natural gas, what is going to be the big difference in the market from that service and support and reliability side?
I mean, I would say this, that we've been in this business for about 30 years, and all of our customers and all of our partners have been extremely, extremely gracious with their feedback. And I think we've taken the feedback well. And so for us, we stand tall on our shoulders of our customers and partners, and of course, people who've been maintaining these products out in the field. So from the L9Ns to the 6.7 to the IXX12N, we've learned so much, and we've put everything in the new X15, which means it is a completely new ground up engine, which means that the block is completely new. It's a sculpted block, which kind of helps compact the design a little bit, and hence why we say that the footprint is similar to how an ISX12 is. It's helped reduce the weight of the engine as well. And then you add things that we've learned, like steel pistons. We've learned things like how do you make sure that the power cylinder and the oil control is a little better. And so you're going to see that. How do you make sure that the block is cooled better? We've had those issues in the ISX12N, but we've mitigated those with the advent of the 15. We've also looked at our fuel system, how our fuel system was, and how do you make sure that the fuel system gets more robust, it gets more capable, it gets more reliable. We've also looked at spark plugs. We've had different spark plugs on this one. We've improved the geometry. We've improved the electrodes and the ceramic strength, just to make sure that we get a better spark plug life. We're trying to make sure that from a maintenance standpoint, from a reliability standpoint, there's as little touch as possible of the engine. So we're trying to extend the oil drain intervals with this as well. So I would say that the reliability and the performance of the engine is going to be better than what they've seen in the previous versions, but closer and closer to how we look at the diesel. We've also ran this platform extensively before we've brought it to the US. I mean, outside the US, I would think that we've got maybe about 42,000 installations. We've had them run for over 2 billion miles now. In the last 6 years of the research that we've done, this platform has done almost about 45,000 hours of in-house testing. Before we launched it, it had about 5 to 6 million miles on the road. And like I said, those vehicles still run, the new installations still run, and that cumulatively we're over 2 billion miles. Wow. We've tested this product extensively in the North American market as well, because we need to bring it here. There are certain elements of the product that we need to test for the US market. Right. We've got field trial units that are running in the field. They've done over 1 million miles in the US as well. And we are very, very confident in terms of both reliability and performance of the product. One of the other things that we're doing is we are working very closely with the OEM partners as well to make sure that our support capabilities in the field get better, both in terms of trying to figure out how do you train the technicians in a way that they get the incremental training that's needed from the diesel onward towards the natural gas product, and so that the support gets better. We're also looking at how our parts organization works, including trying to make sure that the parts dispensing and making sure that the parts availability, both in terms of our shops in the Cessna branches, and then also working with the OEM partners that they get the availability of the parts. The other element that we're working on is that we've got a very dedicated team that's put in for infant care in the short term when the product launches. And this has been integrated within the Cummins framework on how we look at issues that come up in the field, so that we've got a repair velocity, which is similar to how you've come to expect of a diesel product. So all of those changes from being into the Cummins family, it's been an interesting journey, and I think there's a lot of excitement and a lot of effort that's gone in. We are ready for the product to kind of come hit the market.
Right, for sure. So let's dive in then to the last part here that I think is important, TCO, right? The cost of ownership on this. I think, last time we've gone down and had a big natural gas push years ago, I think it was directly related to the price of diesel, right? Diesel was very expensive at that time. We're looking for alternatives. Now we have this sustainability, decarbonization focus across fleets. How is this all working together, and how do you explain the TCO of natural gas today?
I think that's a very valid question, and most of the heavy-duty truck markets look at TCO and will continue to look at it, and for it to become sustainable as well. I think the two things that you mentioned, portions of that are still true. I mean, the decarbonization side of the story is very real. Climate change is real, and we are committed to that. And there's more and more fleets, and there are more and more people who are concerned about it and want fleets to get greener and get to actually show a path on how they're going to decarbonize their fleets. And we believe natural gas kind of fits really nice in. When you use natural gas, of course, just because of the fact that the carbon atoms are less in that in the methane versus diesel or gasoline, there is a 15 to 17% impact on reduction of the carbon. But then when you couple that, and if you're going to use renewable natural gas, of course, it gets your carbon index negative purely because of in terms of how the carbon index of renewable natural gas is. So the story and the pressure of the ESG getting green for the fleets is real. And this kind of fits in really nicely well with the operation. So you don't have to change operations. You don't have to change it significantly enough to make sure that you meet the decarbonization goals. The part of the story which was earlier was around the fact that diesel was expensive versus natural gas was cheaper. I think the natural gas prices have remained stable, which makes it a very, very stable fuel. And with the, of course, with the LCFS credits and with the AFDC, which is the 50 cent a gallon federal grant as well, natural gas becomes, the differential between diesel and natural gas is significantly higher, and it helps towards TCO. And of course, for every fleet, the more fuel that you burn, the more efficient that you get, and your TCO gets better and better. Certainly, the initial cost of acquisition of a natural gas truck is higher, and primarily around the fact that it's a different fuel type. You have to make sure that the accommodations, both from a fueling standpoint and what kind of fueling infrastructure is on the truck versus a diesel. And then, of course, the volumes are lesser, so some of the components change as well. So I think while the initial cost is higher, the running cost gets better and better. And our endeavor has been to say that that's why we are trying to extend oil drain intervals. We're trying to extend spark plug change intervals so that it gets closer and closer to a diesel as much as possible. Right. Now, the more fleets run it, the better it gets. And then I think the other element of it, I would say, is that the natural gas fits really nicely in terms of an alternate fuel to what diesel is, and complements diesel in a way to say that where places which are harder to abate, sectors like a Class 8 heavy-duty long-haul truck, right, because of the fact that we've got a fairly significant amount of infrastructure on the fueling side, both on the public and on the private, there are places and there are certain routes that natural gas just makes absolute sense to run it, both from a return on the investment, plus also kind of getting the benefit of being a green and an ESG friendly fleet.
Right, right. Well, and I do want to highlight something you said, because I think this is important, because we spent many years talking about it now as we talk about zero emissions or reduced emissions or decarbonization equipment. The fact that you mentioned there's not a huge change in operations moving from diesel to natural gas, where you look at something like a battery electric, and it makes you step back and look at how your equipment is running, how you run that, when you run it, all that kind of all thing, which if it works for you, then great. It can also kind of cause some disruption and be a little bit of a stumbling block or challenge there to get over. Being able to go to something and make that, decarbonization impact now, if I'm looking at, hey, how do I just fix this thing here? How do I start working towards this without looking at the entire puzzle, right? I've got things working here. I think that's a really valid and interesting point for moving to a technology that decarbonizes, is adjacent, and can kind of slide right into those applications.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on with that to say that I think for any of the technology, if you have to go greener than where you are today, right, there is a cost associated along with it. Right. Now the question is how much of that cost is what you're willing to pay to get to that point, and how easily you can do it, and what's the time frame. I mean, natural gas you can potentially slip in today, and it's a one-on-one replacement, like you said, that you need one diesel truck, you could replace that with one natural gas truck, partially because of the fact that you can run it longer. It can run longer. It can run similar route as a diesel does, with the caveat that fuel is available. But you don't have to wait for a very long time to say that now I need a different kind of a training, I need a different kind of an infrastructure. And just the time to fill natural gas is almost similar as a diesel truck today, which means that if you want to run operations on slip seat, it's a one-to-one replacement, which means you don't need more trucks, you don't need more drivers. You could use the same amount of drivers that you're using on diesel do a slip seat operation. The time it takes for you to finish the work or get the job done, which is longer hauls, long distance travels, with the fueling infrastructure, it's the same as a diesel is today. And so that's why I think it's a really great fit in terms of impacting the environment and having an impact on decarbonization today, and rather than kind of getting an infrastructure in place, both from a charging standpoint or from a different fueling infrastructure standpoint.
Right. Very good. Puneet, hey, it's great to talk to you. I'm sure we'll talk more as the X15N rolls out and natural gas develops. And thanks for taking the time. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Jason. It's a pleasure talking to you as well.